Hey guys, Jack Griffin here, and welcome to a new video. It's been a while, but I'm back. And today we're going to be talking about a game that I finished playing last Sunday, I believe it was. Yeah, it should be. Last Sunday I finally finished playing. It's a game that has gotten a lot that had a lot of hype, and so far it has gotten mostly good reviews, but there are some people that are, hating on it, but I think that's just some people. And and I have been wanting to introduce some James Bond content to this channel, and I still do. I still do plan to do that. So I thought, you know what better way than to start than to actually talk about the game that, like I said, came out recently that everyone's been talking about, 007 First Light. Now, for context about this game, this was a game that was announced back in, I think, 2022. So 4 years ago. Wow, 4 years ago to 2022. But here's the thing. I didn't actually know about this game until around, I think it was October last year. Obviously because I became a James Bond fan in 2024, which means that means it's been like over 2 years since I've been a Bond fan. Wow, that is crazy. So yeah, I didn't know this game actually was being made, and at the time obviously it was called Project 007, and it was being made by IO Interactive, who of course are known for the Hitman games. I actually did play, just because it was available. I played the when Le Chiffre was the target for there. I decided, you know what, I might as well go play it. It'll be fun. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this game was announced, and I did not know about it until October, November time. And then in January, we finally got some reveals. It was this poster, actually, and that the title will be called First Light. And then later on, we got the trailer. We got a bunch of trailers. We got celebrity, trailers for characters in the game, which I'll get to. And of course, we got, interviews, gameplay, and we got revealed the title song, because there is a title song in this, and basically just a bunch more stuff, like what you could buy, and especially there was collector's items that you can get if you get a special set. I did not get the deluxe edition. This is just the standard edition. But I can upgrade for 20 quid if I really wanted to, but I don't think I will. The only deluxe, the deluxe edition basically just gives you extra costumes you can wear, or suits you can wear, and weapons, but that's about it. But anyway, so the game was really hyped up, and then it finally released on May 27th. But people who pre-ordered it online got it the day before, so they've got 24-hour access. So a lot of people, loads of people already played it. I got it the next day, and I started it, and then I played it for the next few days. And now it is time to talk about that game. And there was all things that were like, oh, is it going to be a good James Bond game? Because they plan to do a trilogy of these games, which we'll see what happens. But, so basically, I'm just going to give my full review on it. What I liked about the game, like the characters, the gameplay, and what I personally didn't like about the game. I'm basically just going to be giving my opinions on 007 First Light. And I will now, just before I do this, I will say there will be spoilers, but I mean, for those wanting to play the game, it's been out for at least. Oh yeah, because it was a Wednesday when it dropped. Never mind. It has been out for over a week. I know there are some people that still haven't played it, so that's why I'm letting you know. There will be spoilers. I will be talking about spoilers. I'm going to do the whole shebang. Spoilers, plot twists, everything. I'm going to be talking about in this game. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, first up, the plot. What is the game about? So 007 First Light is about a young James Bond, not a already, their MI6 agent James Bond. This is basically like their version of Bond's origin, this game. We get a young Bond who gets recruited into MI6, and he goes through training and all that. He makes friends, yeah. But then a rogue agent, 009, has come out of hiding, and he is an enemy to MI6. So Bond and his friends basically, as well as his mentor John Greenway, they have to go and they have to basically go and stop 009. However, there might be more to the story than meets the eye, as Bond finds out. There's so many mysteries in here, and he uncovers a big plot. And yeah, that is pretty much it. So to put it shortly, it's an origin story for James Bond, but it's really good. And that pretty much is my thoughts, like, on the game. Not my whole thoughts. I'm not ending the video here, but that is basically my, if I had to say what are my thoughts on this game, my before thoughts on this game. I enjoyed this game. I really did. I loved this game. Not even enjoyed it. I loved this game. I thought it was really good. But now let's talk about, obviously this is going to detail more the positives. So let's talk about it. So the plot, and I know I mentioned the plot in big detail, but the plot itself I think is very good. I like how the first half mostly seems like classic Bond, like we're talking like probably Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton-esque era. But then the second half of this game, it's more modern Bond, like Daniel Craig. It's more, probably Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan. It's more modern Bond, like when we get to the second half, especially when like certain plot elements are introduced. But the plot was like fabulous, which is weird. And the plot was excellent. It was wonderful. It wasn't. I did have some problems with it, and I think. But they're not major. They're minor problems. Really, nothing much. And now let's talk. So the plot is fine. So let's get into the characters, because the characters are probably easily one of my favorite things about this game. So obviously we have James Bond himself, who is played by Patrick Gibson. For those who don't know, Patrick Gibson plays Dexter. For those who know him, yeah, that's James Bond. And I was really curious, like when it was announced that he was playing Bond, I was really curious to see, how he was going to do the role. Obviously, it's a young Bond. How is he going to do it? Will I walk away from this game thinking he was an excellent portrayal and is just, wonderful? He's a wonderful portrayal. And I have to say, after playing, most certainly, I adore Patrick Gibson as Bond. I love Bond in this game. He reminds me of, he's got, the seriousness. He can be serious, deadly, but, he has the humour. He has the jokes. He has the witty remarks. And Gibson is just, oh my goodness, every time he said something, it was just wonderful. And also, he's Irish, so like Pierce Brosnan, we have another Irishman in the part, which is nice. But yeah, I just adored his Bond. And one thing I will say, this game not only takes inspiration from the movies, but it takes inspiration from the James Bond novels by Ian Fleming, which I will also cover on the channel. I really do want to talk about those books because they are good. But he has a scar on his cheek, which is what Fleming's Bond has. Fleming's Bond has a scar on his cheek. So I just, oh my goodness, I love the attention to detail. He feels like I said, he feels like Fleming's Bond, but he also feels like the cinematic Bonds, which is really good. And oh my, I just loved it every single time. Like, you know, well, obviously we get to play as him, but just everything about him in this game is just, oh, it's brilliant. And I loved him so much. Oh, that voice crack was horrible. Next we have, I want to talk about, I don't know what to, no, I'll talk about him. Next character I want to talk about is John Greenway. Now, Greenway is basically Bond's mentor in this game and his main, like, proper ally who accompanies him throughout the game. And Greenway is presented at the beginning of the game as, you know, like, he's not a fan of Bond. He thinks Bond is, like, trouble and he doesn't like him. However, as the game goes on, we get to see a genuine, you know, chemistry develop between the two. And it was so nice to see. And mate, when Greenway came at the end with the snipers and like with the sniper and was taking all the thugs out, oh my god, that mission alone was really good. I adore that mission. And then when he died, man, I mean, I really did care, and I love that you felt that Bond also cared. By the way, I forgot to mention, Greenway is played by Lenny James, who, if you know him from, I'm trying to think, The Walking Dead, if you know him, he was just brilliant. And I love the fact that we have a different, like, you know, he's obviously one of the original characters that they make. And they could have easily have had, like, you know, Felix Leiter, which I am curious, actually, if they're going to introduce Felix Leiter in this universe. It would be cool if they did, actually. It would be nice to see Bond with her. But Greenway, everything. I also just loved, like, he genuinely was funny. That's what I want to say. A lot of the lines in this are so funny. They're genuinely, like, just really good jokes. And I feel like both Bond and Greenway are, like, probably the biggest of the characters that, like, do these, and they're so cool, they're so funny. But Greenway, man, I mean, I adored him and Bond's chemistry. I loved the development we had. Obviously, at the beginning, you think, oh, you know, guy, we don't like him because he doesn't like Bond. But then you get to see what happens. He has a great backstory with 009, which was great. And when he finds out, the scene in Web Industries, when he finds out, like, literally everything, that 009 didn't actually betray MI6, and he, like, literally he was led into a trap this whole time. Oh my god, it was just shocking. It was great, and I loved Greenway in this scene. And then we have like the usuals. I want to talk about, like, the big three. You know, the big three that always appear in a Bond project. Aside from Bond, that we always, like, get. Of course, the big three, I'm talking about M, Moneypenny, and Q. Now, I want to start with M first. Obviously, for some reason, there was outrage at the fact that, oh, M's a woman. Even though Judi Dench has played the role since GoldenEye. What? But there was also the fact that she was Asian. Well, yeah, Asian. So people were, you know, they were angry. They didn't like that. But I ended up loving M. I loved M so much. And they give her quite a lot of time in this game, which I really enjoyed. Like how much she, realizes that Bond has massive potential if she recruits him into MI6. And I love the fact she's kind of like, she is like that. Even though I would say she is, oh yeah, she's like probably in her 40s or something. She's like much older than Bond. I still feel like she is kind of like a mother to him. Like we get with Judi Dench's and with Daniel Craig's, I would say. I feel like M in this game was great. I also just loved her as well. I feel like, the way she spoke, the way she moved, like the way she like commanded. There's a scene at the end where she's literally talking to all the MI6 agents. That was a great scene. Love that. And I love the fact she guides Bond like at the end. And that final scene at the end as well, like at Greenway's grave. Oh mate. Oh, I can't wait to see her in the other games. It's gonna be great. Moneypenny, in the opening mission, I had a feeling that the woman that was talking to Bond was Moneypenny. And then later the game did confirm it. I'm like, oh, okay, so I was right. And I love Moneypenny in this game. She's full of wits. Obviously, she takes more inspiration from Naomi Harris's version of Moneypenny from Skyfall, Spectre, and No Time to Die. She even she has like, she kind of looks a bit similar to her Moneypenny as well. So there is that. There is also, she acts more as like, the person that goes around, she shows Bond around. She's there with him on missions. She is active. She's not field active. Don't know why I did that. She's not field active like Naomi Harris's Moneypenny is at the beginning of Skyfall. However, she is still like, involved. She's not at a desk being a secretary for M like in the old films. That role is actually by an elderly woman called Miss Ponsonby. Now, if you don't know, if you've never read the James Bond novels, you probably, you've interacted with her thinking, oh, she's actually quite, she's a funny character, she's no nonsense. If you've read the books, you'll know that Miss Ponsonby, even though she's a younger woman in the she's a young woman in the novels, that's Bond's secretary. I don't know why I couldn't say that, first of all. I was struggling. But yeah, Miss Ponsonby, I think her name's Lily Ponsonby? I've forgotten her first name. But in the books, that is Bond's secretary. But here, of course, she's M's secretary. But I love the fact that, they brought Miss Ponsonby over from the books. I thought that was really cool. I was not expecting it, like, the first time I wandered in, saw her, and then they said Miss Ponsonby, and I'm like, oh my god, that's really cool. There is a lot of references to both the films and the novels in this book. There's a lot of it. A lot of the films are in the trophies. A lot of the novels are actually in just, like, things you can pick up, which I'll talk about more in a bit. But I will try not to say much in terms of the novels, because, when I do get around to them, I do want to tell you what they're about in those videos. But yeah, I loved Moneypenny. She was funny. She gets stabbed at the end, and we actually don't know what happened to her. It never says if she was okay, if she survived. But considering that it wasn't, like, surely it would have showed if she died. I think she is okay. I think like the next game will show that she's okay. And then we have Q, played by Alistair McKenzie. And Q was probably the one out of the three that I was most interested in seeing how they were going to do. And I love this Q. He has some of the no-nonsense attitude from Desmond Llewellyn. His design feels a bit like David Niven, but like a really old, like grey David Niven. But I loved Q. But he doesn't really hate Bond. He's actually really friendly to Bond. in this book compared to Llewellyn's Q. Like, he is a lot more friendly. He also, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, his Q was very like his Q in this universe really like asks Bond for like, you know, the details, you know, what goes on in your missions and stuff. Like, you know, I think I can't really remember, which I plan to actually replay this game after I finish recording this video because I actually really want to play it again. But Q, I think he asks Bond about women at some point. I think he does. That reminded me of Never Say Never Again's Q, when he asks Sean Connery's Bond. You know, he's very, you know, in on what Bond's doing. That reminded me of that, and I really enjoyed that. I love this Q, and I'm sure eventually we will see it develop into maybe he gets a bit more frustrated with Bond or something, but I'm sure he will still do it. And I mean, Q as a whole, like the labs were just amazing, and I'll talk more about the labs when we get to like gameplay and stuff. Oh, but it was so cool being in the Q labs. It was amazing. Oh, who else we have to talk? Okay, I want to talk about Bond's friends first of all, and then I'll talk about the Bond girls, and then I'll talk about the villains. So next up, we have Bond's friends. So at the beginning, when he's training with his fellow double O's, Bond actually makes friends with two people in particular, but he does have a few other people. Especially there's this Scottish agent called Nash, who actually goes missing after the events of the hotel in Slovakia. However, it's never brought up again, so I don't know if they're going to do anything with Nash or if they're going to bring him back in the next game, as, you know, just, you know, he finally came back. Who knows? But two agents in particular that he, you know, becomes friends with is Cressida and Monroe. Now, these two characters, I was very curious about, you know, how they're going to establish them. Will I end up caring for them? I'll let you know now, I very much ended up caring about them. Cressida is the daughter of Bright. Well, her name's Cressida Bright. And I know Bright is a very big, important figure in the story that I believe can kind of shut down MI6. But I'll be honest, that is the one aspect of the story I have kind of forgotten about Bright. But, yeah, I think it's alright. Cressida's really nice. She's the one that technically teaches us how to drive, and she's there. She actually, you know, kind of believes in us. And, oh my god, like, seeing her in the wheelchair after Slovakia was just so sad. I wish she was in the ending. I wish we had seen her again after that. We never see her again after that. I wish we had. I would have loved that. And then we have Monroe. Monroe is the one that starts, like, Bond out, like, not liking Bond. He and Bond, you know, tussle. We even have a fight. We have a fight with Monroe. And they end up becoming really good mates. There's a mission where we go and do it, and as we hang out and stuff, it's just, oh, it's amazing. And like I said, I didn't expect to care for Cressida and Monroe, but they both were really great. Monroe also, you know, well, Cressida, he has feelings for Cressida. Cressida potentially has feelings for Monroe. But sadly, we'll never know if she officially liked him because he dies. He gets killed by the Muerto twins, who I'll talk about in a minute. But I was so sad when Monroe died, because I feel like it's it's a really cool aspect to see Bond, like, have friends. Like, you know, he's always been a bit of a lone wolf. You know, he goes about this alone apart from his allies. he's never had, like, friends. And one of my favourite bits is when, like, he and his crew in general, like, he, Monroe and Cressida and his other agents and friends are all working together in the nightclub. I adore the nightclub section. It was probably one of my favourite sections to do. I absolutely loved it. And then we have... Oh no, that's it. I thought there was another agent I had to talk about. But no, those are all Bond's friends. And they're only minor characters. They only appear in, like, the first third of the game. But I still loved them. I thought they were really great characters. Loved them. And I am sad when Monroe died. Now we talk about the Bond girls. The Bond girls, and I say girl/girls because technically there is more than one Bond girl in this. But I'm only going to be really counting 2 of them as Bond girls because the others are more like, eh. I mean, Cressida, would I count her as a Bond girl? Maybe. The woman in the club, there is a woman in the club that Bond actually ends up, taking from her boyfriend, which was funny. But there's 2 main Bond girls in this. There's she was advertised as Miss Roth in the advertising, and this mysterious Bond girl. But before I want to talk about Miss Roth, I want to talk about Teresa Lorca. She appears in the Vietnam section of the game, which is one of my favourite sections. And she, like, kind of fits, like, the traditional Bond girl. She's, like, marine biology. She knows a lot about that, a lot about biology. She knows about Bond. She wears a bikini. There is a scene where Bond encounters her and she comes out of the pool in a red bikini. And it is... I'm guessing that character is meant to be similar to Honey Rider, knowing stuff about the animals and stuff, like Honey did, know about the creatures, and of course the bikini coming out of the water, I feel like that is a Honey Rider reference. If it's not, I would actually be surprised. I adored Lorca in this game. I thought she was really good. It's sad that after the section's over, we don't get to really know what happened to her. But, and she, to be honest, she only gets about probably, what? Oh, I'm trying to think how much. Like, she probably does get about, like, 10 minutes of screen time. But, damn, if it's kind of like Paloma from No Time to Die... She used it well. I mean, yeah, she is the more, damsel in distress character that Bond has to save in that section. But she was so good. She was still a good Bond girl. I just loved it. I thought she was really nice. Like I said, the biology. And there's a part where we do have to, like, put the, tracker in her. Well, in her. And they just have a really nice talk. And, they flirt, they make out. It's just really nice. I thought that was a really nice bit. And then we have Miss Roth, who, well, spoilers, is not actually called Miss Roth. Her name, well, we don't even know if it's her true name, but the name she gives is actually Isola. Bond encounters her several times throughout the game. And she's basically doing the same thing that Bond is doing, like, going after the same villains, finding out stuff. However, she's kind of like... Oh, what can I compare to? Like Black Cat, like from Spider-Man. She gives big, like, Black Cat vibes, the supposed, ally, but, she will, like, leave him behind in trouble if... people do, but she'll flirt with him or maybe do something there. She's the one that gives him his vodka martini, shaken not stirred. They're on a boat that is similar to the Skyfall boat, kind of. So there is that. And she is a really interesting character. I really adored her character in this game. I love the fact that, it's revealed that, she's Miss Roth as a, alias, to keep her undercover. She's a maid in the hotel. We see her again in Web Industries, which I thought was pretty funny. And then, of course, we get to go with her to Antarctica. To Web Industries. To the Web base in Antarctica. And I thought she was really interesting. Obviously, she's that Bond girl that, we don't really know much about. And that is true. Because by the end of it, she manages to escape with Thea. No, it's not. Oh, yeah. She manages to escape with Thea. And she gets away. But she does save Bond in the end. So it shows there is something there. There is but of course for the organisation, the mysterious organisation that she works for, which I really want to talk about later, because that automatically gives us a hunch of what might appear down the line in the Bond games. And if it does, I will be very happy. So yeah, I enjoyed both the Bongos. I mean, obviously, Isola is the main one. She's very mysterious, very... tricks Bond. She's really interesting and really mysterious. I want to know more about her. I want to know who she's working for, why she's doing, what's her real name. What is her real name? And then Lorca for the Vietnam section is also really good. For what little screen time she had. And now we finally go on to the villains of this game. Now, I really want to talk about these villains because I've been seeing stuff about them and I really want to give my honest opinion on the villains. So, and this is where we're going to go into spoilers, so... I've already said before it would be a spoiler review, but if you've managed to not care and then maybe you've had a feeling like, oh, I do actually care, because I am about to reveal, villains in this, so it will be interesting to see, what happens. So you had your warning. Hopefully they've gone off. Let's talk about the villains. So the main villains of this game, in a twist villain, is Sir Nicholas Webb and his son Damien. Now you may be like, who the freak are these people? And what about 009? Wow. Early in the game, when we go to the LF, we come across a ship that 009 is supposedly hiding on. However, it's revealed when Bond and Greenway enter that 009 is in fact dead. Yeah, the man has been killed. And turns out the reason he was running away from the hotel was not because he planted a bomb there that, that blew up the hotel. He didn't do it to get away. He did it, he did it to escape. But it wasn't because he planned it. It was because he was escaping from whoever was trying to kill him. And I'd mentioned Web Industries. Sir Nicholas Webb is basically the head of Web Industries. He had a talk with Bond at the coffin, the funeral that was there. Isola hangs out with his son Damien at the party at the gala, and it's revealed that they are in fact the main villains. Damien. So I want to talk about Damien because it leads into Sir Nicholas. Voiced by, oh, by the way, Sir Nicholas voiced by Anthony Powell, or Anthony Powell, and Damon is voiced by Bart Edwards. Now, here's the thing for these villains. Basically, a rich billionaire, his son has committed war crimes and all that. He's murdered people. And basically his father has been covering it. And his father, you know, gets billions and, you know, in all tech. And he basically, he wants to bring, I believe, from what I've gathered, he wants to bring MI6 down. He basically wants to be powerful. He's a bit of a megalomaniac, which he reminded me of Drax, of Hugo Drax from the Bond novel. And there's one bit in Web Industries where like he speaks to Bond on the other side of the glass, and I just love that performance. People say that he was a bit bland. I thought he was really great in his performance. I thought he was really good. He was menacing, you know, it was all that. So, but Sir Nicholas was a villain that I was like, yeah, and I did enjoy, but he wasn't the best Bond villain. He did have flaws, and I mean, that means that, I mean, yeah, we do only get technically 2 scenes with him. No, 1 scene with him before the reveal. And it is a bit like, you know, I ain't got much to build on from there. So it's it's not really when it's revealed, it's kind of like, and here's the thing, when the scene of the funeral came on and Sir Nicholas was talking to Bond, I said to myself as a joke, imagine he is the main villain. Like, imagine he's just a twist villain. Turns out, my joke was actually correct. And yeah, he is the twist villain. So Nicholas was, well, out of the 2, he was probably the least favourite out of the 2, but I still thought he was good. And then we have Damien. I mean, Damien, and yes, the guy in the gold mask, but specifically the one with the long hair, that is Damien. Damien is kind of gave me Alec Trevelyan vibes, not gonna lie, you know, Bond but evil, the way he jokes about with Bond and that. He is, of course, more physical. He gets into fights with Bond. The first boss fight with him was good. I enjoyed how useful it was. And his gold mask is really cool. But then we get to, and this is probably one of my only complaints, but then it seems like Bond kills him, but then turns out later when MI6 is breached, it turns out that Damien is actually still alive. And that was a bit of like, you know, I didn't need a fake out death. I kind of wish he just died then and there. But then again, we do get, you know, a big showdown. So, yeah. It's alright. It's not bad, but I didn't need it. But he has a really cool design, I will say. I did like Damien's, like, you know, the gold mask was so cool. And the design was just amazing. I loved it. And I mean, this guy committing war crimes, killing people, murdering people. Yeah, he comes off as more effective than his dad. But I enjoy them both as like a duo villain. You know, the father and son pair. I was so scared. The sun is shining. I was so scared that when, like, you know, it was revealed that they were both the villains, I got so scared that I thought it was going to be like, oh, you know, the rich father and then the bratty son, the spoiled son that just, you know, does all the work, complains, wait till my father hears about this Draco Malfoy-esque thing. But no, I actually really loved those two together. I thought they were really nice, and they were both good villains. And that's the thing, they weren't great villains, but they were good villains. And I think that's really my only complaint with them. They're good villains. Apart from the fake out death, they're good villains, but they're not great villains. But they did satisfy me enough in the game that I was like, I weren't really complaining. So, and I actually was a bit shocked. I was a bit frustrated when it was revealed that 009, you know, had been killed and wasn't the main villain. And I was like, oh, that is like, they did a 180 there. And I was generally not expecting them to kill 009. I really thought we were going to have, you know, a rogue agent story. But no, we actually get like a war criminal story, which was really cool. Oh, what is I saying? Oh yeah, there are other villains. And then we have the henchmen, which I just want to talk about. The Muerto twins. I think that's how I'm saying it. Muerto? It's Muerto twins, aka, as they're known, the Great Whites. They're basically, I think they're from Finland, and they're twin brothers with really white hair, and they're trained in like combat. And I loved these two so much. I thought they were so nice. They don't speak, they barely speak. So, you know, they have the silent henchman-esque thing. But Bond gets into several fights, like, encounter with them. It's generally surprising, like, when you've been following this blonde man, like, all the time in the hotel. And then you fight him, and then his brother comes, and you're like, oh, there's two of them. And one of my favorite bits was when it's the first Muerto brother. When we fight him in London, when we fight him at the gala. When we have to do it's a stealth battle where we have to use our gadgets to like do damage to him. But it genuinely had me on edge. I was kind of a bit like scared because I did not actually want to be caught. It was really cool. It really gave off those stealthy, like, it's like Bane from Batman Arkham Origins. It gave off those vibes of like applying damage to him. It was really good. I mean, I will say though, his brother doesn't nearly get as much as like but I will admit it was unique how his brother got a stealth fight and then the other brother got a combat fight. I thought that was really good. It's in a burning thing. And of course, one dies by getting impaled by a trident on a statue. And the other dies by burning in... Well, actually, he gets burned, which was really cool. I was not expecting him to come back after kicking him into the fire. And then he comes back scarred, and then the building explodes, and he dies in the explosion. But the thing is, though, the only complaint I would really say is I feel like it was also like with Damien and Sir Nicholas. And I feel like that's the thing for all the villains in this. They were good villains, but they weren't great villains. I feel like they could have been elevated just a bit more. But apart from that, I just really enjoyed them. But the one thing I will say, I feel like they all have one separate complaint about them. Not the first brother, but the second brother. They say like, oh, he's going to be angry at Bond for his brother's death. But then we don't confront him all the way until Vietnam. And it's kind of like... He never says anything. They do talk, by the way. It's not like they are, like, mute. He doesn't say anything that's like, you know, this is for my brother. Even if he said, this is for my brother, if he was about to do something to Bond, I would have understood. Like, I would have got it. But he never says anything. Like, they say, oh, he's going to be angry at you because you killed his brother. And I thought, oh, is he going to, like, come back? Like, he wants to, like, murder Bond. He wants to kill him for his brother's death. But no, he does Damien's bidding. He kidnaps Lorca. Then he fights Bond, and then that's it. I was kind of hoping that he himself would, like, come after us. But sadly, we don't really get that. Sadly, but... But yeah. That's all I really have to say about the Muerto twins. I really enjoyed them. I thought they were great henchmen. You know, they were unique. They had a unique physical feature. They stood out. And especially the hotel section, which I will talk about more in a bit. They were in like one of my well, actually both of them really were in two of my favorite sections of the game. And now we move on to the final villain to talk about. And this was a villain that was actually revealed in announcement trailers, but it was one that a lot of people just hated when it was announced. They were like, really? And they said the acting was bad and all that. So the final villain to talk about is Bomber, who is the Pirate King of Aleph. And he's played by the one and only Lenny Kravitz, which was a genuine shock. I was not expecting them to get Lenny Kravitz. And he doesn't appear that much as some people thought he was. And I remember when the trailers came out thinking, oh, this is good. But then everyone else just hated it. And I remember like everyone was like, oh, this is not are you kidding me? This is a bad main villain. Everyone for some reason thought he was the main villain. Which is a bit strange, because I was always like, oh, he's going to be a side villain. You know, I think that's what the trailer's indicating, because we know we've had a trailer before that said 009, so he's not the main villain. And it took an interview from one of the people that worked on the game to say that Bomber isn't the main villain, for people to be like, oh, thank goodness. And I'm like, and I was like, how did you not realize he wasn't going to be the main villain? I don't think they would announce, like, unless they had, like, nothing to hide, I don't think they would, like, straight up announce the main villain of the game. And, of course, they did have something to hide in the game, so that's why they didn't announce it. But I was like, let's wait till the actual game comes out, and then we'll see how he does. Because, to be honest, even I thought his performance was all right. And then the game came out, and he was good. I liked him. He doesn't appear that much. He looks so cool. His design's amazing. Lenny does a great job. There's one line in particular where he's really threatening. I thought he did a really good job of that. He has an interesting history. He has an interesting, background. His sister, I believe, was captured. And that's actually how Bond and Greenway get out of the situation above the crocodiles. The guy decapitates someone. And then at the end of the section in Aleph, which, by the way, Aleph was another place I absolutely adored in this game. I love the locations in this game. Bloody, we're getting attacked by enemies. We're out of bullets. Bomber and his men pull up and start sniping them. And I'm like, let's go, Bomber. Let's freaking go. And I tell you what, when I first saw that moment in the game, I generally had a oh my god moment. Because I could not believe it. I was just expecting something to happen, but I wasn't expecting Bomber to freaking come and help us. I was not expecting that. It was really, really good. So yeah, he doesn't appear much. There's been some rumors that there might potentially be a DLC for the game. And if it is, I would want it to be about Bomber, because the whole point was they promised that his sister Harmony was found, but obviously Greenway, it was a lie just to get them out. So if Bomber realizes that that's actually, it's a lie, he said that he would come after MI6, like his men would come after MI6. So I'd love to see what happens if Bomber actually lands an attack, and seeing how Bond would fight him. Because I feel like Bomber could fight Bond. I feel like they can get into a fight, and I feel like that would be cool. I mean, considering he was in the military, I'm sure he can fight back. So it would be cool to have a boss fight with him. I actually hope we do get a DLC. Gives us something to do while we wait for the next game. And yeah, that's all for the characters, really. I can't think of any other characters. I mean, there's Bright, who isn't really much of a character, but still, you know, it's something. Oh. I was trying to think. Oh yeah, there are 2 characters in the game that do appear, and they are actually cameos. There are other cameos in the game from celebrities, but these are the 2 because they're influencers. There are 2 influencer cameos in this game. In the club, if you decide to go and ask for your name, I've forgotten how exactly you do it. But you get an option to either go up the balcony in the club to get upstairs, or you can go and actually get your name and get a tag or something. And if you go there, there's a guy serving you, which is actually Jacksepticeye, which I thought was really cool. And then there's the Khaby Lame cameo. Well, when we were in Vietnam, which was actually one of my favorite cameos in the game. But it was the one that everyone freaked out about just because an influencer was in James Bond, and everyone just. And it was good because they were like, "Oh, I'm cancelling my pre-order." Like, what they've done, they massacred the game. Guys, it's a 5-second cameo. It's not going to affect the whole of the 15-hour game. Calm down. I hated that so much, but I really enjoyed the cameo. It was simple and it was nice. Now we're going to talk about the actual like gameplay of the game. And I think we'll do one more thing after that and then we'll wrap it up. So the gameplay in this game, it's really good. It's quite simple. You learn things and you have tutorials actually with you that you can always click on in case you forget a move or you're not exactly sure how exactly to do it. There's a lot, but I love the way that 007 First Light does it. And the gameplay for the most part, when you're switching guns, there is a focus button you can do where you can slowly get headshots on people, which is really cool. I really like that feature. It helped me whenever I was low on health because I believe if you do a special move or a takedown on someone, it makes your health. There isn't a health bar in this, which I was very curious about because I was like. I know, the screen would often, go black. It was a traditional, screen goes to black and white. There's red near the corners of the screen. There's blood when you're nearly dying. But that was there. There's no health bar. And, switching guns was really nice. Shooting itself was good. I thought it was really great. The combat was good. There were some times where the controls were a bit and sometimes I did get hit even when I dodged, but it was only a few times, so I put that down to just being me, not being the best at games. I'm all right at games when I do them. When I'm the first time, I die a lot, but after I play a while, I'm pretty much fine. And also the gameplay, the very thing I really want to talk about, is your ways of getting past people, your ways of attacking enemies, and basically your ways of getting past situations. Obviously, you get Q gadgets in this game, and the big one is your watch that you can have. That can blow things up, that can activate things, distractions for enemies to go look at while you sneak past. Things that take out enemies that were great. And I love the fact that in this game, you can go, all in, you can go fight heads on. Or you can be more strategic and use your Q gadgets, which I thought were really cool. And I loved the way the Q gadgets were used in this game. They were done really well. And then we have And then we have the actual and then we have a feature that I was very much looking forward to. The one and only bluff feature. Basically, if people see you and they question what you're doing, you can actually bluff your way out of a situation, which I thought was really cool, especially since there were times where I did get revealed quite a bit, but the bluff managed to get me out. And it was really cool. It felt so in character for Bond, because in the films, Bond has to sometimes think on his feet. He has to think right there in the moment how to get away out of a situation. And I love that. And I love how they applied that as a feature. And it was so cool. And it was funny, the different bluffs. There was one where he kicks down a door and he says, I think it was like he's a door inspector. And after he's kicked it open, he just says, this one didn't pass. And I found that so funny. And I just love all the different excuses he has in this game. It's so Bond. And so the gameplay ran really well. The locations were amazing in this game. There's such a range. Obviously, you have London, MI6 in London, England, where we are. But at the beginning, obviously, we're in Iceland for the mission. We go to Slovakia, Malta, LF, which is in Africa. I've forgotten exactly where, but in Africa. We get to go to Vietnam, Antarctica. We get to go to several places in this game, and they are all so good. My favorites in particular were the hotel in Slovakia. That part was great. Vietnam was great, was another one. And I probably would say the nightclub one was also my favorite. Well, that and Aleph. What did I say? I think I might go the nightclub just for the vibes. Well, it's been that. And Aleph was also just so good. It was a really nice place, built with ships, marketing, trading. It was so good. And now we've talked about all the positives of the game. We're going to finish off now with the negatives. Is there anything in the game that I didn't like? Like I said, I pretty much said all I could with the villains. They're good villains, but they're not amazing villains. They do have one or two problems that I personally didn't really like. Like I said, some of the controls were a bit. I think for what it is, the final part of the story and really the bit in Antarctica, there were a few times, and it's literally probably from Antarctica to the end of the game, that it kind of slowed down a bit. The pace has been good throughout the rest of the game, but it slowed down quite a bit when we got to Antarctica and the rest of the game, and it was kind of a bit of a drag to get through. But I still thought, those sections were cool. They had a lot to offer, and I thought it was great. But one problem I do have with the Antarctica section, robots. There's a part where we actually have to fight freaking robots. And at that point, I was just... That is probably the only part of the game that I hated. Really? James Bond fighting robots. I get that the whole point of the game is, it's modern. We've got AI is mentioned a lot in all this, being a big threat. And technically AI is a big threat in this game. So, But I don't need Bond fighting robots. That was the only part of the game where it didn't feel like James Bond to me. It felt like something entirely different, and I did not like that. Honestly, I just wish we destroyed henchmen with it. I mean, yeah, it would have been a bloody mess on the floor, because there's a moment where we get to take control of this giant ball, which was kind of funny that one named it, Reki. But and, you know, flattening robots. Obviously, you can't really do that with people. And I will say, there were times where those robots were terrifying, especially when when they're chasing you. I was not expecting them to be that fast, but oh my god. And yeah, the last bit, like I said, it was a drag. The final boss, it was all right. I thought it was fun. It did have its upsides, but it didn't feel as bonding, and I feel like it could have been a bit better. But I will say also, a lot of the quote-unquote boss fights in this game, you know, when we get singular enemies, when we do get a boss fight, they are actually really good. I mean, you can't really do much in terms of bosses because, you know, it's normally a human against a slightly enhanced human. That's why I really liked the Muerto boss fights, where they were so different from each other. And I also liked Damien's first boss fight, and then his second one was alright. But, and what else do I probably have? No. I thought I had something else to say, but those are really my only problems. And I think it's just that probably some of the other pacing issues with the game. I think the game does have some pacing issues, but apart from that, I've got little to no complaints about the game. But I'm curious about where the next game is going to go. Obviously, we know that Isla works for the secret organization, which, let's be honest, there's the very big thing that it probably will be, and I actually hope it will be, Spectre. And if it is Spectre, and it is its way of introducing Spectre into this world, I'm all up for it. I would love it if she's a member of Spectre, or an agent of Spectre. Because also, M called this organization as, lurking in the shadows. And it's a big, mysterious organization. And they never say its name. I mean, come on. Come on. It has to be Spectre. But I know there are some people like, oh, Spectre's been done to death all the time. Which it actually hasn't when you think about it. But, mate, we've had the last 2 films that had Spectre, and it wasn't done as well as it could have been. I want a great adaptation of Spectre and Ernst Stavro Blofeld. I want to see them come to life. Also, since they take stuff from the novels, could we be getting a novel-accurate Blofeld? That's something that I might actually talk about in another video. And I might do a short video of where I basically talk about what I want to see in a 007 First Light sequel, and or just in general, where I want this trilogy to go, what I want to do with it. But yeah, if it is Spectre, like, please be Spectre. I'd love to see their take on Spectre. I think it'd be really cool. But that is all I have to say about 007 First Light. It is a great game. If you are a James Bond fan, play this game. What are you doing? And if you haven't already, play it. It is a great game. It's the James Bond game that we've waited years for. I know people, like official Bond fans, have waited for, I think it's 14 years since 007 Legends first came out. That was like the last Bond game that came out. This is the first Bond game in video game in over a decade. And I'm glad they waited for it. I didn't have much to wait, so I can't really say it. But I am glad that they said it was worth the wait. This game was originally meant to come out on the 27th of March, but it was delayed to 2 months to 27th of May. I guess I could say it was worth it. It was meant to come out the day after my birthday, but no, it didn't. But yeah, that's all I have to say about 007 First Light. So overall, if I did have to rate the game, I'd probably give it a solid, I think I'll give it a solid, I was going to go 8.5, but then I thought about, doing it and that. I think I will, it probably will improve on my second replay, now that I've mastered it, and I'll be able to get through the game better without dying a lot. I think I will give it for now a solid 8 out of 10. adore this game. I think it's wonderful. I can't wait to replay it in a minute. As soon as this is done and as soon as I've uploaded it, I'm going to get on my PS5 and I'm going to load the game and I'm going to be playing it. And I cannot wait. But for those of you who've watched this video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to try and post some videos over the weekend. We'll see how that goes. But until next time, I'll see you all. No. Oh, I've ruined it. Yeah. Oh, God, it don't matter. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.